All right, fellas, Colby with OnX Outdoors. Today I'm going to be doing an oil change on a new wheeler that I just got, new to me. It's a 2017 Can Am Outlander 570. So one thing I've learned as I researched, this is my first time changing the oil. I just bought this machine just about a week ago. So one thing I've learned is Can Am's kind of a pain for their oil changes. You have to remove a ton of panels in order to get to the oil filter and do the oil change. So I'll kind of give you a quick rundown of what I got to do to get to the oil filter and change the oil on this bad boy. So here we go. So the oil filter is actually located right back in here, and you can't really see it very well, but it's right through there. So in order to get to it, you got to pop the seat off. You got to pop this plastic off, which it just pops out. You got to pop out the cluster here, whatever they call it, the screen and the cluster, pop that off. And then this one's going to come off. This panel here will come off. I'm going to have to remove this one. And then also, from what I'm understanding, I'm going to have to remove the footrest, which kind of sucks. And it's just those 5 there, but just quite a bit of things you got to remove in order to get to your oil filter. The other thing is, a lot of these plastics just have these little rivets, they call them, plastic rivets, whatever you want to call those. And those can be a pain. They break really easily. They make a tool for them, and I don't have it. I'm definitely going to order one though, because I think it's going to make life easier in the future for doing these oil changes. So just some of the things you'll need: your basic oil pan right there. I'm going to hopefully pop those rivets off with the flathead screwdriver. Then obviously some sockets. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. You're going to need some Torx. I haven't figured out what exactly ones I'll need yet, but Can Am takes 5W40 oil. I didn't go all out and spend on the really expensive oil, the Can Am's version of their oil. I think for 3 quarts was like $60 or something like that. This is 5 quarts of 5W40 full synthetic, and it was, I think, $30, something like that. So quite a bit better deal. And I think it'll work just fine. I'll report back if my motor blows up. I just ordered a Tusk oil filter off of Rocky Mountain ATV. They got some awesome products. And I also went ahead and ordered a package of extra Fender rivets. And these weren't very expensive, but I just know that more than likely some of those are going to get broken. So I like to have some spares just in case. So those are some of the basic things you're going to need. I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. Okay, if you saw that, I just popped the seat off and those 2 top plastics. And then when you do that, you got this Phillips screw right here, and you got one of those push rivets right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop those off now. Okay, so after I took that seat off and those 2 plastics, I took this Phillips head out right here, pop this rivet. In order to get this panel, there's 2 more rivets, and they're kind of in some crazy locations. So you got this one up in here behind the fender, the back fender, and then up here in the front you got one more right there, right up there in front of the front fender. So I gotta go pop, I'm gonna pop those out real quick. Okay, so I really had to rake on a couple of those rivets. That back one back there, I pretty much broke it, so I'm glad I bought that kit because they can be a pain. But now I'm going to pop this side panel off, and sometimes you got to get a little aggressive, which always makes me nervous because these plastics are exactly that. They're plastics, they're kind of cheap, so hopefully we don't break anything. But I'm going to try popping this back part out first. That wasn't too bad. Okay. So that panel comes off, and I didn't realize that this little chintzy black thing was connected to it, so it's all one. That's off. I'm going to show you the oil, where the oil filter is located now that you can see it a lot better. So it's right here and here. And obviously these screws holding it on are Torx, and I'll figure out the size in a minute and let you know. Got the first panel removed. We'll keep going on this and get these out of our way so we can get this done. Okay, once you get that first side fender off, this upper one, now you got to take the footrest off. So you got 5 bolts down here. They're the famous 10mm socket. So if you've lost that for the 500th time, you have to go buy another one. Then you'll come up front here, and in the front, right here in front of the front fender, you've got this this a T30, I believe, a T30 Torx here, and then there's 2 more of these cheap plastic rivets that you got to pop out. Then you got to come back here to the back. Same thing, you got a T30 right there. And then this one has a ridiculous, I believe it's a 10mm right here. And it actually has a nut on the back side of it. So you have to get a wrench in from this side. You got to come around here, get a wrench on it from this side to hold it while you take it off. So that part's going to be a little bit of a pain, but we're going to go ahead and jump to it here. I'll start going to town on it, see if I can get her done. All right, so once you've removed those 5 bolts, your T30, those were T30s. Once you've removed those, your rivets and the bolt on the back and the T30, now you have to come in here, and this top fender, this top one right here, has 3 little slots that connected into this bottom one. It's kind of a pain. You got to work that out on the front and the back. So that's the next project here. Okay, so it was pretty tricky to get that footrest off. I'll kind of give you a better look at these tabs. So it has these 3 tabs that are on the front and the back, and you kind of have to reach around and pry on them as you work it up and out. But I mean, everything's really tight with it, so it was a chore for sure. It was a hassle, but once that's off, this is what you're looking at. You've got your oil filter right here. There's just 3 T30s. Those are T30s holding that on. So I'm gonna go ahead and take those off. And then obviously don't forget to loosen this up. That way it'll drain your oil a lot better. Get that loosened. And then your drain plug is right through this hole here. It's right up there, and I believe it's a 13mm. So, and drain it right there, and we'll be rolling. So we'll get going here. Okay, I'm gonna throw my drain plug back in. Got a new crush washer on it. Throw that back in, and then Can Am, these Outlander 570s, they take 3 quarts of oil, so be filling it up. It's fully drained. I've cleaned everything. I put a new filter in, the whole 9, so time to button it back up. All right, fellas, so I just finished up, got it all put back together. First time I've ever done it. It took me probably close to 40 minutes. I fought the plastics quite a bit. I will say the hardest part of the procedure, I think, was, let's see if I can get this right here, was getting this out. And I think you can get around that by just doing this piece and kind of working back behind. When it's time to change the oil again, I'm gonna try to do that and just take this one off and work behind it. But taking that footrest off was kind of a pain. You have to snap it out on both sides, and I just don't like doing that with plastics, because you know how plastics are. They're so easy to break. So anyways, it's all done. I'm gonna let it idle, get up to temperature, and sit right here for a while, make sure there's no leaks, but should be good to go. So it's a finished project. Anybody can do her.